So come get some. CrimeCon. CrimeCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish. They're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to That Silverline Show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, joined as always by Jose Fuentes.
Hello.
And we are once again graced by head honcho and cat wrangler Roland Mann.
What's up, everyone?
And he is here to help introduce us to new talent on the show. Angelo, you have to teach us how to pronounce your last name.
Angelo Concepcion.
Concepcion, okay.
It's like the baseball player, right?
Yeah, exactly. Literally, yeah. That's the one I always get.
Yeah, that's what I think I've seen it spelled slightly differently, but I'm like, yeah, that's got to be how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
And I love the tag that you got there, pencil smudger.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Messy pages. That's me.
Yeah, Tim. So thanks for letting me bust in here, so that I could introduce Angelo properly. And in fact, I've actually got some. Let me see if I can share here. I've got some artwork I'd like to share if you allow.
Absolutely.
Where's it at?
I don't think it'd be much of a comic show if we didn't show artwork.
Yeah, right.
So most of the folks, right, who know me are cat and mouse fans, and this is the opening page of the next cat and mouse story that we're working on. We titled it "Cat and Mouse Vipers," and man, Angelo just knocked us out of the park. And the fun thing is, though, and it just happens to be great timing, is his inker for this. Oh man, it didn't. I thought I was going to click one. Is Jose, right? So check that out.
Yeah.
So this is Jose on Angelo, and like I said, this is page one of the next story, and I'm so stoked to tell this. And here's page two, so you guys get an idea of what's going to be happening. Yes, those are giant snakes.
And there's going to be plenty of them for sure.
There's a bunch of them. In fact, I had to send. I think it was attached to the script, but I had to send Roberta a list of the snakes because I said they don't all look alike, because some of them are are just snakes, but some of them are going to be super poisonous. Even though it's called vipers, they're not all actually vipers, right? And so we've got this one's a racer that they're fighting. So, but we will see those of course who are interested in snakes. We're obviously going to see things like water moccasins and things like that. The cottonmouth. You wouldn't be the South if you didn't have the cottonmouth. But yeah, so this is Angelo's pencils. I listen. I am stoked today, and this is the cover. So you guys pretend like you're not seeing it, because we haven't revealed it yet. So pretend like you're not seeing this. And then I love this just big snake in the back with the tongue here. It's like, man, that gets my juices going, man. And then of course I've got this is all I have for this one. That's Jose sent me a screenshot. What he's working on.
There you go.
So I think I will get that eventually. No, I don't want to leave the studio. Why'd you? Oh, I clicked on the wrong button. That's why. But I'm excited to say, guys, that this issue is completely penciled. It's completely inked, and Roberta is coloring it. So we are very, very close to crowdfunding that. I would say if I were to guess, right? Because we're going to kind of wait and see what Roberta does, but I would guess within a couple of months. We'll see. Of course, we're in the middle of Divinity right now, but I would say that it's probably going to be. See, this is July, August, September, so you're probably looking maybe September. My fingers are crossed.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is, the cool thing is, number 2 is way far along as well. Angelo, you've almost done with number 2, right?
I am just about to upload the final set of pages soon. So we will be right on our way to just coming through that one too.
We'll go and kick that out. So, and I'm excited to say, of course, the first issue is not in your hands yet, but we are going to have a guest star in the second issue. I don't know what it is about me and the stories I tell that the second issue tends to be where the guest star comes in. I don't know. I have to evaluate my plots from here going forward. Why do I have the guest issue there? But
we explain that one. We explain that one in the stream. That's the first issue is setting the precedence, right? Setting the stage.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about this. It's a fun story. Like I said, it's big snakes, big talking snakes. They will talk. And there's a whole group of them. And of course, it all still ties back to human trafficking, which is the theme of these two characters, human trafficking in New Orleans. So it's fun. Yeah. So a quick update, because and you guys probably didn't even notice this last week. You guys probably didn't notice you weren't streaming to Twitch. We went ahead and Elon changed the rules on Twitch, and so not Twitch.
X.
Thank you, Twitter X.
Yeah.
I've seen some people calling it Twix now.
Twix. Yeah.
Yeah, I choose the left one or the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary Vee says it'll always be Twitter. You can't beat the branding that's already established. So
right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he changed the rules because we were streaming there, and that's where we were getting that. I don't know if you've noticed, but that's where we're getting the majority of our viewers. And then he changed the rules on us, and we didn't know. Suddenly we're like, what happened to all of our viewers? Where did they go? And we realized we weren't on Twitch anymore, and we got I got an error message up there. And so we went ahead and we bit the bullet, and we bought one of the premium accounts for Silverline so that we could stream. Because we were like, we don't want to lose the bulk of our viewers, because that's where they all were, and we didn't have a chance to say, hey, by the way, this is shutting down, so everybody go over to YouTube and follow us or whatever. We were still on YouTube, we're still on Facebook, we're still on the usual places, but we had lost Twitter briefly, but we're back on, because that seems to be where we get the majority of our live audiences these days. Even though I noticed that Kevin was on YouTube, so and yeah, Kevin, I agree with you. It is awesome.
Yes.
So I don't remember how, Angela, how did we meet? Did I see your stuff on the
what I remember
page?
I think what I remember was it was around the time where you on the Silverline Instagram you had posted for like a penciler opening or something.
That's
so
right.
I submitted my like fresh out of third year portfolio, just super recent sample pages that I whipped up for the end of the year, and then that's kind of what landed me. So I was super excited. I had just gone back to my parents' house after the school year ended, and I woke up to that email and I'm like, wait, is this real? Yes.
Yeah. I forgot about that. That was we I don't normally do that. Normally I'm kind of the guy that likes to kind of seek and find, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And certainly recommendations, like Jose's recommended a handful of folks, and I trust Jose, and he's a judge of talent and character, so I will reach out to folks like that. But so I don't do very many of those, but yeah, I remember my wife was like, "You really should do it." She says, "This is cat and mouse." She's like, people are going to want to draw, cat and mouse, and we did. We got quite a few folks reaching out. Some people that I knew, right? Some people that I had known, but I'm like, this Angela's got the magic. She's got the magic touch, I think. Here, I love the excitement. Of course, I'm a big fan of the Kuber School. I love what those guys do there. I love the teaching that they give you guys, because they seem to cover it all, and they don't. I won't mention where I teach, but sometimes where I teach, we unfortunately, now not me in my class, but unfortunately, we sometimes leave students with the idea that it's going to be an easy path. It's like all you got to do is finish the school, and then you're suddenly going to go into the world, and you're going to go, look, I'm magically successful, and as Tim can tell you, that's not the case.
No.
You got to work. But the Kuber School, talks about that. They don't put rose-colored glasses on you. They give you this is the real thing, man. You got to work, and I love that. And I'll tell you my Joe Kubert story, and then I guess I'll bail and leave you guys to it. So my very first San Diego Comic-Con, which is, I have to go back and look, was probably 1990. I'm a rookie, right? I'm a rookie creator. Only got a few things out at this point in time, and Malibu Comics, who was the original publisher of Aircell of Cat and Mouse, they had a booth set up, and I was scheduled for a signing at like 1:00, right? So I show up to the booth, and I look at the little sign, because they had a sign that had the times, this creator at this time, this creator this time, or the times of the creators, right? And I saw 1:00, Roland Mann and Joe Kubert, and I'm like, wait, am I signing with Joe Kubert? And of course the guy that's like, yeah, of course. Is that okay with you? And I'm like, yeah, but it's Joe Kubert. Like, yeah, well, he'll be here and you'll be there, right?
And so, of course, I'm a rookie, so I'm there super early. I'm like there 20 minutes before 1 because, I didn't want to be late and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, 10 minutes before 1, I went ahead and sat down at the spot. And they, Malibu had stuff for us to sign. They had these they were kind of cardstock things for us signature cards at the time. This is before the little baseball card size signature cards were common. And they were just kind of little backing boards that had a spot for it had an image on it and then had a spot for you to sign, right?
Okay.
And of course I'm sitting there, and kind of by myself, just watching people, all nervous. This is my first signing ever at San Diego Comic-Con. And just a few minutes before, but what I left at, so he's to my left, right? And I'm sitting here, and Joe Kubert's going to be to my left, and there's a line forming, right, for him. Nobody in front of me, right? Nobody in front of me. There's a line forming for him, right? And just a few minutes before 1 o'clock, he comes in, has a bag and everything. Is kind of, like, oh, let me get all my stuff situated. And he greets the people in front. Hey, how y'all doing? Give me a minute to get settled here. He says, hi, I'm Joe Kubert. I'm like, I know who you are. We shake hands, right? He introduces himself and he begins to kind of going through all the stuff. And so I just kind of, I watch as he's doing all this, and he sits down and starts signing, talking to people. And a few minutes later, there's just this probably like, I don't know, like 108, 110, something like that. And I've had like 1 or 2 people, right, come by and say like, who are you? What do you do? Right. Oh, you sign this for me, right? Kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
which is fine. But his line is still steadily going. And but he gets this slight little break, and I just lean over to him and I say, Mr. Kubert, I just want to tell you what an honor it is to be signing next to you. He leans over to me and elbows me a little bit, and he goes, kid, the honor's all mine. I can go home now.
Yeah.
So that is my Joe Kubert story, and it was it had me floating the entire weekend. The fact that he was so nice to me. He didn't know me from Adam, but he was so nice to me and was very kind. And like I said, I can't remember, we spent 30 minutes or an hour there. It's probably an hour. We spent an hour there, and so I got to talk to him some. But I just remember those words very specifically, and how it just, it's like, man, that is very cool. So
yeah.
So that's my Joe Kubert story.
Nice.
What's up, Pops?
Pop's doing his housework.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Pop's doing his flyby. It's not unusual. I may leave before you get a Flormonte flyby.
Yeah. Speaking of housekeeping, we do have some of our own.
Uh-oh.
Tim, I'm gonna bail. I'm gonna leave you guys to it. I just didn't want to toss Angelo up here without making introductions. All you guys listen, you need to be watching. Angelo is going to be he's going to be making some waves here. Give him a little bit of time, and folks will be soon knowing who Angelo Concepcion is. And I'm excited that he is drawing this story of Cat and Mouse, and I think you guys are going to love it as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for the introductions, Roland.
All right. We all have a good show. I'm, of course, going to be listening, and I'll talk to y'all later.
All right.
Yeah,
Bye.
that's good.
Okay. While Roland figures out where his leave stream button is.
I don't want to end the stream.
Yeah. We do have some housekeeping around. Divinity number 4 is currently up for funding. Again, this is a Silverline book. That means the book is fully completed. This is just a pre-order in a way that is easier on our accounting and makes it a little quicker for us to get the initial run printing done. You're not crowdfunding something that is never going to be completed. We're currently at 64%, 14 days left to go. So we're ending on August 7th. And a lot of the original art has already sold out. We, of course, do have a very dope foil cover option for Divinity number 4. And
that looks sick.
Is brought to you by our partners at Kablam Digital Printing. Of course, a whole slew of alternate arts and interior pages. Like I said, starting at even some of our earliest offerings, we were already sold on some original art. So if you want to grab a piece while it is still left up for order, now is your chance to do so. So if you want to get caught up on the series, you can do a order that includes the entire run at a discounted price. Or if you want to add on an additional book at the end there, you can add on something like a Wolf Hunter, written by myself.
I've heard of that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
There you go. So head on over to Fund My Comic. We're on the front page as always, because you guys just jump on it and keep us at the top of the algorithm. So head on over there and get yourself a pre-order of Divinity. Now, Angela, I don't know if you watched too much of the show, but normally when we do our introductions, we do a little bit of breaking the ice, just to show what we've been ingesting and let the audience kind of know what influences we take in terms of the media we like to ingest. So this week, what have you been reading, watching, or playing?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm a big fighting game guy, so I've been playing the hell out of Street Fighter 6 with a bunch of my buddies.
Nice.
And that's been a really good time. In terms of other stuff, I mean, I've been reading Skybound's Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's been super cool.
Nice.
Really cool horror stories there. Enjoying it more than I did the Dracula one, which might be a little biased because the creatures, the Gill Man's my favorite Universal monster, but
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, in terms of anything else, that's basically been it for the past week. But
There you go.
That Deadpool Wolverine's coming out. Might catch that.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to catch that as well. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I have a Dracula book coming out myself, so I don't know. If you like that one more, then I might just have to find James the next time I can and rub it in his face.
Yeah. There you go.
Respectfully.
Yeah. With class and dignity,
Yeah. All right, Jose. What about yourself?
I've been watching Farscape.
Nice. That's a throwback. Yeah.
It wasn't ever up my in my mirrors and whatnot before, but I'm like just zoning through stuff and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a try. It's weird. It's funky. So
Yeah.
that and pretty much that's it. I started playing some of Jedi Survivor.
Oh yeah. All right.
Not nearly as fast as my nephew. He beat the game and is going through the plus version now.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah.
That's about it.
All right, cool. Yeah. Well, we'll have to check in next week and let me know how you're liking Jedi Survivor so far.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Man, I told you, Baldur's Gate, I still haven't made it through that. I'm a slow game player.
Yeah. Well, Jedi Survivor I like because one, Star Wars is my religion, but also it's one of those games where it's not quite a Souls-like, but it is one of those games where you can tell that boss fights are the focus, and being a Final Fantasy player, boss fights are my jam. That's why I love Destiny. Yeah. So
super sick.
Myself, I have been playing. What have I been playing? Oh, I've been playing a lot of Star Wars Hunters actually, which is kind of like the Star Wars version of Overwatch. They put it on Switch and mobile.
Nice.
And the ranked scene on Switch is actually, the ranked scene on Switch is actually pretty decent. So, just trying to progress the rank ladder on that, as well as a little bit of Helldivers.
Nice.
Watching. We just over 2 days watched series called Exploding Kittens on Netflix. It's based on the card game. Yeah.
Interesting. I love the card game. They made a show? What?
Yes, and it's written by the Oatmeal. The main actor is the lead actor from Lucifer. But yeah, it's God and the devil have both been booted by their respective boards, the boards of heaven and hell, because they've been phoning in their jobs.
Mhm.
So they get sent to Earth to learn how to be either God or to be evil in case of the devil, but they're forced to do so in the body of a cat. And
Holy cow!
yeah, and
Wow.
the first few episodes are a little slow, but it gets progressively more absurd. So like the last episode is just absolutely like nothing makes sense, balls to the wall. I love it.
Sick.
And reading wise, I've been reading a stupid book for work. It's not stupid. If you're into marketing, it's worth a read. But it's how's it called? I think it's Monopolizing Attention by Gary Vee. So if you're in marketing, it's a good book. And like Roland said, if you're a writer, getting into the creative space is not very easy. But if you can leverage your skills into writing copy, that will, you can make a pretty penny that way, and that'll cover your nut and allow you to do creative stuff on the side.
Yeah.
Okay. So tonight's episode is going to be about combining genres and the different ways you can blend a genre in comic books. So it's kind of going over some brief examples. Of course, we've already established that a comic itself is not a genre, even though most comics do tend to fall into the superhero genre. But you will find that oftentimes they will blend in some other form of theme and motif stolen from another genre to create a story that feels unique. In a case of film, you could think of something like Logan, where it is blending in a lot of motifs of a Western plus the superhero motifs, creating a nice blend there. Or if you want to get something not keep rid of the dull, I think is it Black Matter or Dark Science? Blends elements of cosmic horror and science fiction comedy, Dark Matter. That you end up getting a very unique and sometimes existential story because of that.
Yeah.
So we'll get into the writing and art considerations you have to make in terms of blending motifs and themes later on. But first, I'll open up to you guys. What are some examples of blended genre comics or work that you have either worked on yourself or have just really appreciated and something you consumed or something that stuck with you?
Oh man. I can let Jose take it up first, and I'll follow up.
There you go.
So I made a gothic western comic book that's obviously western, but there's very much like supernatural elements. Like one of the henchmen bad guys that my main guy is supposed to go after was this like voodoo witch lady, and she basically hypnotized an entire village to think they were zombies and come after them.
Sick.
So that's one I'm still technically working on. I made the first issue ages ago, but haven't progressed further. In fact, I did it before I went to art school.
Hey, there you go.
So,
I guess for me, in terms of stuff I've worked on, I did a couple of con exclusive just for myself, like mini comics based off of a D&D character that I made, and it's just a super high fantasy blend of the high fantasy-ness of D&D, but with almost slapsticky comedy of not to the level of Looney Tunes, of course, but still something a little bit more upbeat, something more comedic in tone that kind of takes the tropes of high fantasy and mocks them in a playful way. It's a friendly thing, kind of showing love and appreciation towards that.
nice.
And another one I could think of is one of my favorite kind of horror supernatural based things is like Hellboy. That's a really good one of blending not only genre but mythologies within each other. So yeah.
Yeah, Hellboy is actually one of my list of examples of the line. But yeah, it's a really like especially some of the earlier titles are a really good blending of crime noir and supernatural horror. Just the two very pulpy like types of stories that just the Mike Mignola works really well together. Yeah, fantastic storytelling, and the art also lends itself in a way that it kind of feels like, even though it's not, but the art itself lends itself to that feel of like newspaper print comic, right? Yeah. Where like the art seems to almost have like a texture to it, and there is an omission of detail when needed or extra detail added where it makes a moment just really pop through, that either really sells a moment as either being settled in the crime part of the universe or in the supernatural horror part of the universe.
Yeah, like the slower beats of Seed of Destruction with the whole family mystery and the figuring out of that, and then like the Nazi punching action of Volume 2 of Hellboy, where it's super pulpy and off the wall and exploding sci-fi jetpacks,
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's a wonderful look. Also, I guess they're making another movie with David Harbour, which I didn't know.
I know they made another one, right, with some other dude.
Oh, I mean, I thought it was still David Harbour because I knew the one. I haven't seen it, but I knew it got like enough of a cult following that like it did decent in DVD sales.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a Ron Perlman guy. You know what I mean? So
Ron Perlman, like
Ice Pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ron Perlman kind of just like plays that character so perfectly, though. It's whenever I read Hellboy, I just imagine that voice too coming out of him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay.
I'll watch the new guy. I watched what was the dude's name from Stranger Things?
Yeah, Ron Harbour. Yeah. Or David Harbour.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked him in Stranger Things. I like him also. He was the one good part of the. Well, there's a few good parts, but he is the best part of the the Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of helped toe the line with that one.
Yeah, we had some great choreography, but the script could use some punching up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of my notes here is going over the historical context of blending genre in comics. I feel like our comics itself almost existed in a space of being was when they especially started out of having some sort of genre blending already native to them. If you can think about like the early like Captain America's were war stories with superheroes, right? It's combining superhero stuff with war stories. Yet if like a couple years ago where it's just superheroes, like just Superman or a few other characters fighting local crime, and then was it very early on that they started introducing war story themes, or even Superman started getting a little more detective-y at moments.
Yeah.
It kind of peeled away at the moment when superheroes kind of died for a little bit in the 50s and 60s, where we went straight romance or straight cowboys. But
the only real blending of genres you would see maybe around that time was like EC Comics with some of their horror or sci-fi stories, But even then, it was the heavy focus on horror.
Yeah. And then eventually when superheroes come back, it kind of goes... that's kind of when he goes like super heavy into some extreme examples of genre blending, where you have like the Kirby Thor, where it is very clearly science fiction.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. All the mythology in that is just filled with Kirby's crazy tech and aliens and invaders and all that stuff.
Absolutely. But it definitely is almost I think that genre blending being so native to the medium, I think, is what gives comics sort of like its unique texture in terms of storytelling. And that yes, it does happen with films, but it's not quite as expected with the film, right? With a comic, you're almost kind of, if a comic is good, you know there's going to be some kind of weird element or twist added into it, something that doesn't quite what's presented to you, unless that's kind of the point. But
yeah,
as people who have grown up and fallen in love with comics, and to the point where we have wanted to make this some part of our lives, what has been your engagement with comics in terms of when you kind of get aware of the genre blending? So it may not be something like you have a conscious thought about in like the way that we're doing now, that we're actually like thinking critically about it, but moment where you see something gets combined with something like, oh, that's really cool, or a moment where something pulls you in because it has an element of something else you like, but even though like the core storytelling you wouldn't necessarily like be interested in. For example, this I'll start actually this one. For me, is I wasn't super into Green Lanterns until Darkest Night. I know.
Jose's blown away.
Jose got offended.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it all now. Like, I've gone back and read a ton, but my appreciation for it was not there until someone showed me the cover of the Black Lantern riding the zombie shark, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm sold. Like the horror elements of there, the sort of the gratuitous violence that you see more so like in an action, like in a more adult action series, getting introduced to Green Lantern. That's definitely like the moment where like, oh, I'm down with Green Lantern now.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I actually also had a Green Lantern story, and this was like back when I was like a little tyke, when I was like maybe like 10 years old at a Scholastic book fair, and I saw Green Lantern, what was it? Green Lantern Secret Origins by Jeff Johns.
Yep.
And that was it had like Black Hand, before he became Black Hand, and it had Atrocitus breaking out of Abinsur's ship, and there were all these different meldings of your sci-fi, space cop drama with the superhero elements of Green Lantern, his origin story, getting the rain and the costume, and just the deep-seated horror of Black Hand's obsession with like death and Atrocitus just being this demonic almost monster. It was one of those things as a kid that I just found like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
You found it cool as a kid, Tim.
Yeah, I started young.
Yeah. Well, see, when did Darkest Night come out?
What was it? It was before New 50.
I have all the floppies.
Was 2011, so it was like what, like 2008, 2009? But no, before that.
I think it's
close to that.
2009, yeah. And I mean, this is when we just make Jose feel old, and I was still in school at the time, so technically that's still kid years for me. There was like super late high school, so I was
I had my gray hair since I was 8.
That was
Came
still
out the
like
womb stressed.
I was still able to drive and have a beard at that point, but no, that was still always in high school.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it for me. What's that?
I liked, so Tim knows, like, I'm a big fan of like monster stuff too, right? Like King Kong, Godzilla, the classic, like you said, Angela, the classic Universal monsters and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Mary Shelley Monster Hunter from I think Aftershock. I think it's Aftershock. It was just almost the entire book was done in like red tones, but it was basically like literary story of like a literary author thrown into the idea like this is why he came up with a story of not Frankenstein, sorry. This is why he came up with the story of Frankenstein because it happened in the cabin they were at, like the whole macabre building a person, putting them together and whatnot. So the idea like that they made an author who made a fictional story based off an actual event. You know what I mean? To me, that's what three genres all in one, basically. So it
Yeah.
wasn't a fictional story, as in, it was a non-fiction event, but that was a good book too. Yeah, I like that. Mandalorian. I think the Mandalorian's a nice
Yeah.
mix of genres, depending on how you look at it. It's either it's a western and sci-fi, or it's sci-fi and the reimagining of Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like those
Like,
stuff like that. Like, I mean, that's every time I see like a cross kind of genre thing, especially if it like has anything to do with Western stuff. Then I'm in. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even think I ever read Stephen King's Dark Tower books or the Gunslinger or stuff like that until after I actually picked up the comic book that Jay Lee worked on.
Oh man, gotcha.
This is gonna be also like a kind of a weird related story for genre blending, but in terms of how you can like think about genre in a weird way and where things are intended or not. The first is the duality of intention versus reception. So speaking of Mandalorian, but thinking of Star Wars just in terms of the original, let's go 6 movies, right?
Yeah.
I'd argue that it is not a science fiction story. It is a creation myth.
Creation myth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Expound.
Yeah, I'm for the ride, Kim.
Right. So it has to do with a society and a galaxy of humans and humanoid creatures, but it's not our galaxy. It's a galaxy far, far away, a long, long time ago. Dealing with religious and divine forces, literally the Force being the energy that flows through us all, and tells the story of a betrayer god creating the fracture that essentially leads to people rebirthing the society and expanding outwards. That would eventually lead to the colonization, perhaps, of our planet or other planets around it.
Yeah. Go on. Yeah, that works.
You have watched too much Ice Pirates. No, that's actually interesting.
Yeah. So kind of, it's always interesting kind of looking back at like, something like Ahsoka or the Acolyte, right? And thinking about this from the perspective of this is in the same area as like the story of Thor and Jormungandr, right? Or this is like you can almost say that Ahsoka is almost like a parallel to Loki in that the daughter of a dark god, but instead, whereas Loki chose the path of betrayal that led to Ragnarok, Ahsoka ended up choosing the path of redemption that led to the creation of the Great Order.
Huh. Yep. Wow. And I think that also leads into the idea that people always throw out too, that Star Wars is a fantasy at heart, more so than a sci-fi as well. Kind of that mystical power of the Force and the hero's journey being so integral to it.
Absolutely,
kind of helps build that once again that kind of myth behind it.
Yeah, and this is where we can get into a discussion about how can something be so effectively genre blended that you can make successful arguments for whatever genre it leans into, because it has a lot of the narrative elements and a lot of things of like these fantasies or these mythos, but a lot of the visual elements and visual language of a science fiction storyline, as well as technology there, but then also the technology is based on magic because kyber crystals. But
yeah,
but when you get into comics, you're also going to do a lot with visual language in terms of conveying some motifs and themes of a genre, because it is a visual medium. So being a pencilist and being an inker, when you are using visual language to establish a theme or genre that is going to be blended with perhaps a different narrative of genre, or you're going to have visual elements of two different genres coexisting. What are some considerations that you're going to be making when you're making those decisions?
Yeah, you want me to go first?
Yes, sir.
All right. I think a couple of the considerations that I would make, obviously, is the tone of the story. I'm not gonna, shade in and mark X's all over, all over the page for filled in blacks if it's supposed to be like a kid's story, because that, all that heavy black immediately kind of makes it more conducive to obviously a darker tone, not only visually, but also like how I decide to set up my shots and whatnot. I also like to think about the setting. If it's a certain time period, you'll see a lot. If it's like a Victorian thing, Mignola does it really well in Hellboy, where he'll like frame something in a very like almost Victorian picture frame, or like have that Art Nouveau pattern along with his stuff. Even like the DC Bombshell stuff does it really well. Really kind of leaning into a bombastic superhero 40s kind of vibe by just drawing from the art direction of the time period. So that's all stuff that kind of helps build a visual identity when I'm trying to tackle a story. Especially with working on Cat and Mouse with this guy here, trying to think about the vibe, the energy, and overall direction that we want to go. Since Cat and Mouse is in New Orleans, I wanted to kind of keep all the nighttime scenes very almost with an air of supernatural element to it, wispy smoke and dim street lamps, stuff like that.
Yeah, the spotlighting and whatnot.
Exactly.
I don't know what he's talking about. I just black everything in he does. Like he's crazy. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I just fill the entire page black. Call it a day.
And we're dead.
Yeah.
No, I think like you take into consideration the type of book you're gonna work on, you're gonna ink in. You know what I mean? In like Angelo said, definitely you can see it in like the structures that he's putting in there in the background, the lighting, that light source that he has. It just leaves like a little more mystery, a little more. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to fill in like, oh, like here's a leg. Like it's not. It's kind of like obscure. It's like you want to make sure that stays obscure. You want to make sure that it gives that like sense of you don't exactly know everything that's going on. But then with the superhero, sorry, not superhero, a sci-fi book, you know what I mean, that I'm doing with obsoletes, like I like to keep my lines clean, clean on that in regards to like the spaceships. Everything I want to do, I want to make it look sleek and clean, and then all the ground and everything that they're in the middle of right now, like I don't know, I just have to sit there and just shake my hand when I ink that in, just because I want to give it like more of an organic look, so that you can see that the difference from the tech to like the organic plane that they're on and whatnot.
Yeah. That's a really good example. I like that a lot. Yeah.
From a writing perspective, I didn't mention this at the top, but I am in the process of writing a blended genre comic. We have some art back on it. I've already talked about it before, so I think I'm going to talk about it now. I won't say who else is on the team just because we're still waiting on some stuff, but it's combining kind of thing where you combine fantasy elements with tech. We're combining our own mythology with hard science fiction. So when you get to moments where you're combining tech with fantastical elements, there's I talked about this before in a different episode, but there's a writing theory called the triangle of weird, and that you can you choose three elements. So it can be like your setting, your characters, or your a plot, and two of them can be weird. One of them has to be normal, or two of them can be normal. One of them has to be weird. And you can do the same thing with genre almost. So we're doing the super fantastical, out of this world, like Roman mythology type stuff, like literal sun gods conjuring bolts of fire to like toss at like whatever, right? Or Mars, the god of war, is like a giant raging beast, almost kind of whatever. However, to counterbalance that out, we have calculations that to go based on the theory that faster light travel is not real. Like this is a projected timeline for colonizing the galaxy way to the best of NASA's knowledge at this point, the rest of the solar system. And this is the average speed that we could think we could get a ship to go without running into issues with trying to bridge the speed of light. So that's when we're the gods are capable of using things, but still controlled by the laws of physics for the stuff that the mortals are dealing with. So no, it doesn't make kind of the genre elements feel distinct, but allows them to kind of sit in their own universe because they have a narrative point, right? The humans are bound by these laws, whereas the gods can do whatever they want. Sol Invictus can absolutely just fly outside of a ship and do whatever he wants. However, his human party members have to stay inside of a ship and deal with spacesuits and oxygen and all that other stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's kind of the writing considerations you have to make when combining genres. And I don't know if you had any similar thoughts when you're combining gothic stuff and horror or gothic western stuff for your story, Jose. If you ever thought about the westerns, you dealt with horses and 6-shooters, but Mothman is going to do Mothman stuff.
Yeah, right. I definitely considered more looking into more the different Native American mythos in regards to what they believe their supernatural stuff. I know there's a word for it. It's late.
Yeah.
But I did some stuff into that, searching into that, because there's also another character in there, and I have his name written down, but he's Native American, and he calls upon the power, you know what I mean, of his deities to help the main guy. Actually, technically, originally he doesn't he fights him off because he thought he was just some encroaching European person, you know what I mean? And then he realizes what he's there for, and he's like, "Oh, I guess I could help you." But I incorporated that. It took looking into it, looking at it, because I didn't. You take liberties when you consider a character that practices voodoo's witchcrafty stuff, and there's different takes on it that it's actual magic, and then there's a take that it's a hypnotism that they hypnotize them. So I kind of wanted to do a mix of that logic. The lady, she makes these homebrew potions and whatnot, puts it in the well water, and that's what instigates the hypnosis for the village. You know what I mean? To go out and do her bidding and stuff like that. That's where the idea that her zombies came about. You know what I mean? It was more a bit of what alchemy and just hypnosis. So
Sweet.
But I think you have to do your research. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of our takeaway points from this is if you want to blend genres, you have to do double the research.
Yeah, you gotta do your research and kind of commit to an overall set of rules where you're kind of establishing how the two things kind of interact with each other.
Yeah.
You can't really have one competing at the same level as the other at the same time. You have to kind of choose one scene or the other to lean more into the supernatural of it or the wild westiness of it, to kind of bounce off of Jose.
Yeah.
There has to be a balance. You know what I mean? Because think about it, supernatural stuff, I think personally would just obliterate anything Western. But if you take the logic that back in the day, bullets and whatnot used to be made out of, you know what I mean, out of, iron, actual iron and whatnot, and instead of what they're made out of now, an alloy that they're made out of now. We take that into consideration. Then you can incorporate there's was it some Irish mythos has it that their supernatural creatures are affected by wrought iron, stuff like that. You incorporate stuff like that, but like you said, there has to be a balance. One can't overtake the other, otherwise you're not gonna have a really good story. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There has to be room for to contest from between one side of it.
I kind of bouncing off Irish mythos and again going to like using one to kind of like not necessarily like tell me other, but to like rein one genre to kind of rein one in, where like you have kind of your parent genre that your whatever you're blended, it kind of sits in that same space. This is gonna be a very like deep cut, weird cut. But the anime Durarara.
What did you just say?
There's an anime called Durarara, which is it's a coming of age noir story, right? It's just like teen moves to a weird suburb of Tokyo, and there's a bunch of like clicks and things going on, and there's a mystery, people disappearing that he's wrapped into. However, this toss in a little bit of mythology there, and that there is a Dullahan that rides a motorcycle and wears, biker leathers and a themed biker helmet. But it's a thing where, they still have their powers, like the spine weapon, like that they will can scare the soul out of someone. Okay. But their mode of transportation is limited to a motorcycle because they live in a suburban setting. Their primary mode of communication is a phone and text because they can't talk. Yeah. So you'll have a Dullahan that has to communicate to someone by typing on the phone and showing them the screen.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's super fun.
So I have one where the coming of age noir story kind of controls and pulls the mythology elements in and makes them feel like they belong because it relies on the core genre.
Right. Yeah. You remember the RPG Scion, Tim?
I don't know if I've played it, but I feel like I've run across it.
Yeah, I think it's a White Wolf book. Essentially, you played the avatar of Thor and Loki and some of the other Norse deities and whatnot.
Oh, but I'm trying to. Yeah, I never played it, but I've heard about it. Yeah,
they did a nice mix of Norse creatures and whatnot mixed with modern day stuff. And one of the ones that brought to mind, because you mentioned about the dude with a motorcycle, was they had a centaur. I believe it was a centaur, and the top half was this biker dude, long hair and beard and whatnot, and the bottom half was a Harley or a chopper. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's super sick.
Right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, if you want to do something where you speaking of centaurs, if you also want to combine genres in a way more so for comedic effect, almost like Adventure Times, where the genres are so egregiously clashing that's the point, is that it's funny.
Yeah.
Adventure Time also a great example of just blending every single genre under the sun. But we had a D&D campaign where it's set in a essentially Industrial Revolution world. So at that point, the private horse is being phased out by the buggy, which is in the process also being phased out by the car. And so there was a centaur that provided a coach service, but due to the constraints of the world, it wasn't just the centaur pulled the wagon. No, the centaur bought a horse and buggy team and would ride in the front and then kick its legs up other side. So it had this horse's body sticking out the side of the buggy on the driver's bench. And so you can also play with things in a way where the controlling genre or the parent genre is so aggressively controlling and so aggressively clashing with the genres you're blending that it becomes a comedic element. You see elements like this in Scott Pilgrim, right?
Yeah, with the video game elements for sure.
Yeah, where they get to the moment where they things have to be resolved in a certain way because they're in a video game, it's a darker story, but the visuals are presented in such a way that you kind of have to laugh at them. Saga, with the way that their science fiction elements are just thrown so weirdly into the fantasy elements of the TV heads, where where they wanted to make a race of robots in a fantasy setting, so they made TV heads.
I think Saga is a very good example of just like I also liked the Adventure Time example of just like kind of taking a lot of visual elements and like where it might initially like you go, oh, TV heads and like with all these other like kind of elf looking or like tiefling looking satyr types, like, oh, this is a little odd. And then you start seeing all the other weird cybernetics and sci-fi tech, and you're like, oh, now it's kind of wrapping itself together. Now this is like super weird, but in a way that I can really get behind.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
I felt that same way about East of West.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, it's a Western, but you know, it's like a sci-fi, futuristic, Native American-y.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
But you can also have a like to follow the Western example, you know, you can also have a very violent clash of genres in a way that is done so not necessarily for comedic effect, but for some other shock value. And you get that in something like Deadwood, where you go from being Western to like, oh my god, that's a dead body just like coming at the screen. Where you just like do like a sudden clash of the horror elements to bring in that initial like jump scare, but also to add to the, you know, the initial shock of it all. And that, you know, if you were in that setting, the sudden introduction of horror elements to your life would be shocking.
Yeah.
Right. I got that from Westworld too.
Yeah.
Right? The idea of like the cybernetics, but being the conduit to bring you into the Western world, you know what I mean? And then shenanigans breaks loose.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this
I didn't
has
realize
been...
how many stuff I actually watch and whatnot are actually like mixed genres.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like the like I said, like a lot of other medium has started to fall in the same suits since kind of the mid 80s. It popped off with kind of the horror sci-fi renaissance, but really since the late 90s on, that become kind of popular, that really like morphed into all of other media. But as far as comics go, it's like mixed genre has always kind of been a staple of the medium, just because of the amount of texture it allows you to add to a story. I mean, now trying to think of Thor in the Marvel context, it's really hard to picture him without the weird tech stuff surrounding him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another.
I thought that was kind of bold for me to introduce that in the movies, because I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea of Asgardian are more just high tech people and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they do an interesting thing of like, since they lean so far into the tech, they kind of like I don't know how you would say it, demythologicalize
Sure.
the Norse gods by making them like, oh no, but these guys are kind of more so like just really advanced, really naturally powerful, almost aliens, right? And that's kind of like an interesting way to take it. And another Marvel character to bring up is the Hulk with Immortal Hulk, like that recent run on how heavily that shifted the character back into more of his horror roots, you know?
Yeah, went straight into a possession story, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That was really good. Yeah. I don't know my notes. Same with like Dark Justice. Taking the heroes and leaning more into the horror side of it all.
Well, they also did DC's, right? DC did DC's. So it's a whole genre thing of zombies, and then they did DC versus vampires, which I actually like better than Deceased.
Okay.
So like then incorporating vampires and whatnot in the DC universe, which I thought, oh my god, it was just, if you haven't read it, read it. It right out the gate, I was like, oh, that's not right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
I will say, you know, as much as it has been memed, there is something nice about comics always bringing characters back, because, like, you know, if you leave the space of those comics and you go to something like Game of Thrones or Neil Gaiman, like, when your favorite character dies, they're dead, they're gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
We always know Wolverine's coming back as soon as they introduce the new writer.
Yeah. Or like they'll have Colossus sacrifice himself for all of mutant kind, and then a decade later,
that was a great scene.
Yeah.
And then a decade later they bring him back and he's like, I'm here, Kitty. And Kitty's like, whoa, you're back. And you're all shiny and stuff.
Yeah.
I've already been dating this freaking Brit. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was Vaughn's X-Men where Magic became the Queen of Limbo. But I feel like that was almost like a parody of that moment where Magic sacrifices, like, no, screw you guys. I'm staying alive. I'm getting more powerful because of this. It just happens to work out for you. I'm not going away. I'm coming back.
Yeah.
Magic beat out Belasco for Limbo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing, and then I don't know. I thought Marvel got weird for a while, so I stopped reading. No offense, Marvel.
Yeah. I mean, I've said before, like, the weirder comic gets, the more I'm into it. So I've like, was it Dupe? Dupe is my favorite member of X-Force.
Oh, Dupe's so funny. Dupe's great. Once again, another great kind of like weird genre character of just being just this absolute weirdo.
Yeah,
right.
What was he, a mutated pickle? Right,
he's a mutated pickle. Like, I feel like he does exist just to introduce other genres because of Dupe, they've done X-Force, which is like superhero hyperviolence meets greaser romance. He was the Lone Ranger for a while. He was an astronaut.
Yeah. There's a whole thing. He did everything, right?
Yeah.
He was just like a star for like the longest time.
He was a lineman. Yeah, I think he was right before the Greaser Romance. He was also a lion tamer or something.
Yeah, he was. Let's see, he was a British spy or something like that. He was like James Bond.
Yeah.
So, I guess if you just like really want to, you know, well, I guess that there is another trope. I don't know. Everyone's kind of familiar with the character the audience insert character. In some genre stuff, this is particular in what's the Quantum Leap? You can also introduce and some usually you do this through the main character, but you can do this through side characters as well. There's also in Doctor Who where you can have the genre insert character. Quantum Leap, like, this is kind of Scott Bakula himself, but in Doctor Who, oftentimes you'll have a part of a series where the Doctor will get a companion from a specific time period that they're not supposed to be hanging around, but they are. Or they'll get some sort of like far-fetched absurd alien to come with them, and then that serves to insert genre in weird ways. And in the case of a comic example, that is Dupe. That's also Booster Gold for DC. Booster Gold inserts science fiction comedy into everything's in because that is his character, is the science fiction comedy character.
Yeah.
Booster Gold, man. He's had a rough life.
I'll watch a DC movie when you finally get a Booster Gold movie.
Right?
Yeah.
I like the fact that he was like basically one of the main characters when 52 actually came through. Like, not in 52. During 52, he was like the primary. Like, I thought that was great. And I have a friend that absolutely hates Booster Gold. Like, what are you talking about? He's such a great character. Like, he's like, get out. Like, get out now.
Well, that's because they did a really good job of when you have that genre insert of then being able to tie it back into a greater story. A good example of this is, Mr. Gold then going into, was it Infinite Crisis of Infinite Earths?
Yeah.
Where, like, oh, this is the time travel paradox that, like, he has, like, intimate knowledge of.
Yeah.
And then pulling that into then now him being the leading character, because, like, he just had, like, so much involvement in, like, the latest big issue that now everyone knows who Mr. Gold is, and he has, like, demonstrated, like, immediate value. So whenever you're crossing genres, like always have it be clear that there is like an moment of intentionality with that genre crossover, right? Either in the narrative itself or in pulling in another thing.
Yeah.
Mutated Pickle was a line tamer. Yes.
Yes, he was.
Oh yeah. Oh
There was
yeah.
an actual issue. It's more than one issue, wasn't it? It was actually several. He had like his own storyline.
Yeah, he's like I think we got like a few micro runs with him, but yeah, he's had several like moments where X Force or New Mutants has been all about dupe.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember. I don't remember which book it was, but there was one where he's riding a chopper. He's got like a bandana across his head and everything. He's riding.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
I forgot he was also Super Sentai. He introduced Super Sentai to Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
I think an earlier example in X-Men of like the dupe type for New Mutants was oh yeah. Yeah, that one's burned into my brain. I love that one.
Right.
But I guess Warlock for
cover.
the New Mutants is a great example too of just injecting
Warlock,
alien sci-fi into anything he's in, you know? The kind of Looney Tunesy energy that he brings too.
Yeah. Well, they also did a really good job of making that also. Well, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember the name now of the mutant who can hit. Is it Cypher? Who understands every language?
Yeah, Cypher.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, where they have Warlock and Cypher, and they have like a very like where Warlock is absolutely very goofy, very silly. But then also go leading into Necrotia, then you start also like you do that same thing where you have that moment of intentionality with this character, and that you realize like a lot of that silly goofiness is him being misunderstood, and Cypher helps like understand that until they get to the moment where.
Yeah.
I thought
spoilers for a 20-year-old story. One of them dies, and they get morphed into each other.
Yeah.
Well, they had, they had Cypher Douglas, was it Ramsey, right? Douglas Ramsey.
Yeah.
They had him buried, and then when Warlock died, they basically buried his put his techno-organic remains on it, and the two kind of just seeped in and meshed together.
Yeah.
So, I thought freaking Cypher was just or Douglas was such a great character to bring back like that.
Yeah.
And just the concept of that was okay, that's kind of cool. Now he can pretty much do everything, but he's socially inept.
Absolutely. I feel like I have to mention this because I mention it every time I get the chance. My favorite ever. It's only a 6-issue run, and it is the greatest tragedy that ever came out of Marvel. That is only 6 issues. X Club.
X Club. Wow.
Yeah, with Dr. Nemesis, Danger, James Madison. If you want to talk about combining science fiction, comedy, eldritch horror, literally deep eldritch horror type stuff, this is, oh my god, mutants dealing with a rig on the sea for part of a project for Project Utopia, right? However, then cover something deep in the ocean that's not supposed to be discovered, and psychic squids and all that comes out of Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah.
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 Dupe is I feel like you have
what class would Dupe be? That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, no. If you're on canon, he's level 20 and everything, but
yeah. Oh, he's the level 20 NPC that's gonna ride in and save the day. That's who he is. He'll ride on that chopper with that tiger.
Yeah. I guess, man.
Won't say a word, right? Because he doesn't talk. He won't say a word. But all of a sudden, everything's gonna happen the way he wants to.
Yeah, he's gonna hit you with that pickle look, and you're just gonna be all right. We're safe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. I forgot that he had the Mad Dust camera for a second. Okay. After you've been dupe pilled for a little bit. But that's kind of all the thoughts that I had for genre blending and all the notes I've had. I don't know if you guys have any other things you want to talk about points you want to hit, questions you want to discuss in terms of blending genre before we do our last little segment here?
I mean, if you can mix a genre, mix a genre. I mean, you make soup by just throwing a bunch of stuff together and hoping for a good outcome. You do the same thing with on a story, any kind of genre story.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just agree with that sentiment, Jose. Just if you're looking to create your own stuff, to any of our viewers here, just start kind of throwing together stuff that you personally enjoy. Look at the stuff that you love, and we talk about plenty of shows and comics and movies that just blend the genre just because it helps enrich the story or the setting. So see what helps you kind of craft and create your own world and characters, because I think blending certain genres can just help make really fruitful and engaging stories.
Absolutely.
And if you can include Del Taco, include Del Taco.
Always include Del Taco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're working on our sponsorship, Angela. We're hoping Del Taco will hear us and start sponsoring us.
I hope that would be great.
Soon, Tim, my Del Taco here is going to be opening up soon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's exciting.
Roland's beckoning me to join every week. Hey, you know what? This is super fun, so I'll try to be on as often as I can.
That's cool, man.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you. It's been a blast.
Pickle Bard.
Yeah.
Pickle Bard. That's perfect.
Yeah, I feel like he would be like a School of Valor bard, right? He's kind of good at everything, but it's like
he can't talk. He doesn't talk.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he hits it with that bardic inspiration with just a pickle look.
Mime.
Yeah. He mimes it out.
Yeah. Well, I thought something to do mention that he does have uncanny charm, and the fact that he always has like a different partner in every issue he's in.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. Very cool.
Uncanny charm. Thanks, Casey. You're not gonna bring that one up.
Yeah.
Casey's my friend, by the way.
Very cool.
One of my fellow gamers. He was also the first person to back Divinity.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Very cool. Thank you, Casey.
Like while we did the live launch on our stream, he was the first person to back it.
Nice.
Very cool.
So yeah.
That has been kind of all thoughts I've had for genre blending as well. If you get a chance to make it weird, do so. The weirder, the better.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's same advice I give for anything. Write what you think is fun.
Right. And what did you say, Tim? Write everything, even if it's garbage. Just spit it out.
Write everything, spit it out, get it out, and pay your artists.
Yeah.
Yep. And pay your artist. See, this is why I like it.
Yep, exactly. Good first impression already.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, awesome.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone in chat for hanging out with us. We will be back next week when we get our topic pulled up.
Wow. What's gonna be?
We are going to be discussing we're going down which genre of comic should you create. So obviously, the question is what you want to, but we'll be talking about how you can use genre to help grow your skill set and by experimenting with different genres or styles, as well as some professional considerations you have to make about how to avoid getting pigeonholed, or how do you become a expert or specialist in the niche that you want to work in for a while. So it's going to be more so of a business development style episode.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Make sure to check out Wednesday Wham and Silver Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern on those respective days, where you can, of course, see Roland Mann do his show. So hopefully we'll have him again on Tuesday's show. I guess, Angela, we do also have to pre-warn you. Roland is already aware of this, that you'll have to come back in October for Halloween, we do a ongoing annual game of Vampire the Masquerade, the RPG.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, so
I will be all in for that.
Roll and plays is amazing.
Then I will definitely have to make sure I have time for that. That sounds like a blast.
It's a good time. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining. We'll see you all next week. And Angelo, of course, we end every show by saying "Make mine Silverline." So until that time,
make mine
Silverline.
There it is.
There you go.
Hey, I'm G-Rod. Make mine Silverline. You heard me.